Okay, sir, go ahead.
During dream, the same consciousness which sustains the realities of the waking world becomes modified into dream phenomena. Just as dream objects are nothing but consciousness, so all waking realities are also nothing but consciousness. All that is seen as the world is ever established in the self. From the point of view of intuitional revelation, nothing is born, nothing dies, and nothing comes into existence, and nothing ever ceases to be. Sri Rama asked, O sage, if this world is as illusory as a dream, then why does it seem to exist as solid reality until the period of Pralaya, the cosmic deluge? Why is it that we do not find dreamlike disorderliness in the operation of the world?
Continue, finish it up.
Oh. Sri Vashishta replied, I will answer your question with the help of stories and illustrations that explain how this world is non-existent. Although non-existent, it appears real. In this respect, it is similar to dream, but being more intensely rooted in the mind, manas, it is not as disorganized and confused as a dream. The mind has intensified its impressions of the illusory world over a long period of time.
Yeah, want to comment?
Well, this is what we read, I think, in the one of these chapters before. Actually, it says, oh, I think it was in the chapter 8, I think, because he clearly says, because of the world is not there, as long as there is reality of the visible world, so long there is a seer. And as long as there is a seer, there has to be a world which is seen. If the seen is proven false, then the seer too will dissolve into unreality.
Right.
Or if the seer is discovered as mere reflection of the self in the stream of intellect, then the seen is bound to disappear from one's view.
Right. Yeah. So,
So this is what
yeah, as it happened in Nirvikalpa Samadhi,
yeah.
when the seed is gone, absorbed, then there's nothing to be seen. That's why in Brahman, there is no triad. Seer, seen, and the seeing, or experiencer, experience, and the experienced object, or karta, karma, and karana. None of them are there. Everything is nothing but that Brahman alone. So Desham Agrahyam Avarnam Chakshushrotram Tadapani Padam. So it doesn't have any parts and it is just pure awareness alone. And but this world is just an appearance. And then, though it is just an appearance, now he talks about the creation of the universe. Just like what we talk in Tattva or Taittiriya Upanishad and all that. So we will continue to see
But
that.
Raghuji, on that, yeah, about that seer, seen, and what else? Seer, seen, and sight, right?
Right.
But here it says that, but be more intensely rooted in the mind. That means it's a mind play only, right? This illusion, because we just keep believing that this is real, this is real, this is real. It is kind of a what I call it, we call it as brainwashing our own this thing, that mind is actually thinking that this is real, right? Even though we know that this depends, as long as a seer is there, seer is seeing the scene, the sight, then we think that it is real. But here the line which says be more intensely rooted in the mind, that is the reason we are actually seeing this world is as real, correct?
Yeah. Somehow I didn't agree that what you said there because let us say you are still in the dream. Okay? As long as you are in the dream, it is real. Okay? And it is very intense. Only when you wake up, then you can say, oh, it was just a short time. I slept only for 30 minutes and dreamt all these things. But as long as you are in the dream, okay, it's like it was a long dream and real. But same way, when you wake up to your absolute state of Brahman, all of the so-called intense long dream of the word process completely disappears. So that's how I
Yeah.
looked at it.
Yeah, so see, because when you wake from the dream, then we actually have the knowledge of that this is a dream. So then we are actually separate. Dream is not real. But in this case, I would kind of say that the the awakening means in the knowledge of this world is actually will give us that this world is not real. That knowledge is the one is the missing, right?
Yeah,
So
now the thing is, there's a difference between dream and waking state is, in the waking state, though you are in the dream of this world, you are able to sit and discuss like a teacher and student, hey, this world is unreal, things like that. Okay?
mm,
Having some pure sattvic nature of the mind. Otherwise, those who are deep into it with the Thomasic mind, for them, this world is 100% real. There's nothing called Brahman or anything else.
okay, correct.
So,
Okay.
very good. Shall we? Dinesh Sharma is not here today. And Karpagam, you want to read, Amma?
The creation of the universe. Sri Vashishta continued, O Rama, listen, and I will tell you how this entire universe proceeded from the absolute Brahman, who is supremely peaceful, immutable, and eternal. Consciousness is pure like the taintless sky. However, there rises a subtle inclination towards objectivity. This is described as the will of the Supreme Being to create the universe and is due to Maya, cosmic illusion. Tinged with this will for externalization, pure consciousness assumed the role of Brahma, the creator, and with repeated intensification of the tendency towards externalization, the same limitless self assumed the form of incarnating souls, jivas, caught in the wheel of birth and death.
Want to comment?
It's the only thing I understand is the creation of the universe that we read in in Bhagavatam and all those things.
Right. So, uh, still, you have to explain to us who consider this world is so real still, in spite of all the study and the same discussion about creation is being given, how the Brahman projects this universe just to various Upanishads talk in various ways. Oh, just because he's fun, he wanted to see his own form in various ways, things like that. And since all of us, including the great saints and all that, as it is said, we all are the result of this uh, creation of the Brahma's mind. We are the effects, and so we cannot know that cause. We cannot know the supreme or his nature. And when we become aware of the nature, we become completely silent, like in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, because there is nothing but just pure mass of pure consciousness. So, okay, and I will continue. And Madhu Kukkala here today? No. Mano Amma, you want to continue, Amma?
Okay.
Corresponding with the relativity of Jiva consciousness, the Supreme Self simultaneously assumes the form of ether element. With increasing externalization, there develops the reality of time and egoism. Pursuing the desires of the ego, the soul becomes identified with the ether element as well as with its products air, fire, water, and earth. With the awakening of the will, may I be ether, air, fire, water, or earth, the self becomes all these. Just as the mighty banyan tree remains enclosed in a small seed, so this vast universe remains latent in the unmanifest akasa, ether or nature, which emanates from the absolute. The subtle elements give rise to gross elements, but in fact, the gross elements are merely appearances of the subtle elements. There is no actual change or modification in the subtle elements. It is the limitation of the human mind that interprets the subtle elements as the gross elements consisting the manifold realities of the world. Pretty much this is talking about how the, all these elements have come about from the Supreme Self, pretty much.
Yeah.
In the beginning, the Supreme Self externalizes and with the reality of time and egoism, and then with the ego, it decides to have the becomes identified with the ether element, and then the ether element wants to become the air, fire, water, earth, and all those things. And then just he gives the the analogy of having that small seed in the banyan tree, how the banyan tree comes out of that. So the akasha is latent, it's unmanifest, it emanates from the absolute actually in the beginning. And then the last one telling about the gross elements and subtle elements. The gross elements, no, it's not actual change or modification in the subtle elements, but it's only the our own limitation of the human mind that interprets the subtle elements as the gross elements constituting the manifold realities of the world. So what they are saying is it's our own mind that is interpreting this subtle and gross.
Right. So our gross mind looks at the world as a gross world, and the same mind, as it becomes purer and purer and subtler, then it can perceive and understand the subtleties of this whole world. That's why that through the practice, through the study of Jnana Yoga and contemplation, one can perceive that the subtle worlds. And as the mind becomes purer and purer and becomes quieter, then it will perceive the pure, becomes absorbed into the state of Brahman and becomes one with Brahman. And he cannot call it even as experience, because just like a salt dal of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa ji goes into the ocean, it becomes the ocean. So there's no question of experience. It dissolves and becomes the Brahman or the ocean. So
Raghuji, can the understanding be that subtler is real and the grosser is unreal?
yeah,
When you say everything is
at the relative levels, yes. But at the absolute level, the subtlest of the subtle is that Brahman alone.
because when in the previous stanza it talks about the ether and the five elements. So the some of the five elements have grosser substance, right? Like
Say it again.
no, some of these five elements have grosser substance.
Yeah, so that's why if you see the Taittiriya Upanishad, or even here, if you go back to the original Yoga Vashishta of this chapter, what the Jyotirmanandaji has finished in one paragraph about that he becomes identified with the ether, then he becomes identified with the air, fire, water, and all that. It goes individually, and like he says in Taittiriya Upanishad, that from then Brahman came the sky, and from the sky came the air, from the air came the fire, from the fire came the water, from the water came the what do you call it, the earth, like that. And so even that we are talking of the subtle or the tanmatras. And all of those tanmatras cannot be perceived by us because they themselves have become our the capacity of the gnanendriyas and the mana, buddhi, and ahankara. So that's exactly what we are. And through that, we are able to perceive the subtle worlds I mean, sorry, the gross world of objects through those senses. And if because of the senses, we perceive them as different things like sight, sound, touch, the taste, and all that. And if without all that, everything is nothing but just pure Brahman alone. So hard to understand because the mind itself is the effect. So Maya, you want to continue, Amma? Maya here?
Mayaji said she's just listening today, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, good. I think she had told me that. And Jansi Amma here today? No. And Nag, you want to continue, sir? Next three paragraphs.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari Om.
Section 13. Brahman becomes the Jiva, individual soul, through illusion. Sri Vashishta continued, just as a dream world arises even without one's willing it to, so this world process arises in Brahman. Like trees that grow and die in a vast forest, so the worlds arise and are destroyed in the great forest of pure consciousness. This world tree arises without any seed. It is sustained by illusion. Just as the objects in dream arise without any tangible basis, so this world arises out of ignorance. The five subtle elements that arise out of Brahman are of the nature of Brahman. The objects that arise out of the five elements are also of the nature of Brahman. In fact, this entire universe is nothing but Brahman.
Yeah.
Ragaji, to make it simple, so I try to understand what we are learning so far. In a crude way, the world exists. You exist, I exist, everything exists. But if you look a step further, like my house is in Duluth, this entire universe is the mind of Brahman. Because it is Advaita Vedanta, we are saying, I am that Brahman. If you take that Advaita part out, the world actually exists in somebody's mind. And I happen to be that somebody. Is that correct?
I had to digest what you said. Anybody else want to comment on it?
Can you repeat, Nagji?
Repeat it once more, Nag.
Can you want me to repeat?
Please.
Yes,
Okay. See, the world exists. Even though they say world is Maya, world is dream, and all those things, the world actually exists. You exist. I exist. My house exists. Everything exists. But if you look one step back, like if you look at my house exists in Duluth. Your house exists in Lawrenceville, whatever. So the entire world, you, me, everything exists in Brahma's mind or his dream. Brahman's mind.
Brahman, or you can go one step below that. Everything is in the mind of Brahmaji, the Hiranyagarbha, or the creator.
Right. Okay. Now, if you look one step even further that Brahmaji himself exists in the mind of Brahman.
Correct. Actually, there's no mind in Brahman, and somehow
Projection.
the seed of Brahman, so-called mind, arises, and that's how the whole thing starts. So like it said in number 12. Let me see, 12 or 11.
The banyan tree seed.
The externalization is what,
Yeah.
or the desire of Brahman is the cause of creation.
That is, that is always the case, right? The creation actually, it is actually in the mind of, even for us also. Anything actually starts with the thought, right? That is a similar way we can actually equate it, right? In the world actually, I mean, started as a thought in Brahman, and it is, and then even for us also, we externalize our thought, so then we create it, right? And one thing I just want to talk about the Nagji's this thing. See, the world which we create is, if you are not there, your world is not there. So you only created all the world around you, right? If you are not there, that world is, see, the that world is not exist. So there I am the Brahman, because we say that without everything is Brahman. If Brahman is not there, the world is not exist there. So for me, the world which I created, right? My wife, my kids, my relatives, Nagji, all those things I created. And if I am not there, for me, the world is not there. Same way, now Nagji is actually created his own world. And he is not there, that world is not there, right?
So basically, it starts with Drusti Srustivada. That's what Nagji is mentioning. Then beyond that is Srusti Drustivada. Then the beyond that is Ajatavada. So now nothing is created, nothing is exist as per Ajatavada. Only Brahman alone exists.
Correct.
Then all this comes due to Srusti Drustivada and Drusti Srustivadas of an individual mind. Yeah.
See, Sudhiji, I agree with what you said, with some question or comment on it. See, the world exists because of me. If I close my eyes, the world disappears. So the world I built around me disappears if I close my eyes, if I get into deep sleep, or if I die, the world disappears. So the world exists as long as I'm here. So the world is created by me. I understand up to that point. Where my question comes is, in the world I created in my mind, I created all of you. I created the world. I created Afghanistan. I created Pakistan. Everything. How is that possible? So that is why I think there is somebody beyond me. So I am in the dream of somebody who is driving me,
Right.
and that somebody is Brahman.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Ultimately, you are right. Ultimately, that is Brahman. So you can put an intermediary of Brahmaji, and then you can put the intermediary of Ishvara, like in a seed form with Brahman, with Maya. But ultimately, it is Brahman alone. Correct.
So Raghuji, like again, don't extend too much on this. Just for a layman, how would this statement fit? Because it
Say it
means
again.
no, for a layman, a common man, a common being, right? Like a man or a woman, right? How does this statement get justified? So he has to go through. He has to have that spiritual inclination. He should have that faith and deep study into the knowledge to accept that statement. Even though it's a Mahavakya coming from this the great acharyas, the yogis, the avadara purushas, still it has to be. You have to have the Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhyasam, and all
See,
the
for an
qualities.
ordinary man, okay, assuming his intellect is gross, you really do not preach Gnana Yoga. Okay, you preach him Saguna Brahma and preach him devotion in the form of pujas and karma yoga and what do you call japa and things like that.
more grosser form.
Only after several lives, as the minds get purified and understanding, then he goes into Gnana Yoga. Or in this life itself, as the devotion gets deep in and he gets absorbed into that Brahman, and the Brahman gives him the knowledge. That's why you see so many so-called uneducated people, they get into the spirituality and from intensification, and they get the guru and they don't study all these things, and they just go into state of karma yoga and meditation, and they get the knowledge. And so that's why there are different methods for different temperaments. That's my understanding.
Thank you. I think the one example you said is Nisargat Maharaj again.
Right.
He didn't
Exactly.
have any study,
Exactly.
realization.
Right. So all this discussion is for a person of a questioning mind. How is this possible? How is that possible? How is this world real? Where did it come from? All the person who asks those questions, all these are discussions until his mind becomes quiet, and then he can go into without any doubts anymore. Then, hey, all this is illusion ultimately, and Brahman alone is real. So,
Prabhuji,
very important explanation, Ravi, because we should not take this knowledge and try to justify or explain to.
yeah, it's just like Chinmanda Swamiji always said, if a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old child came to the grandfather and asked, "Hey, how is it rain coming?" And so the grandfather started all explaining everything in the form of how the sun, the clouds, and the absorption, and how all the particles get intensified and dense, and then lightning, and all that explained. All that was the explaining, and the child was all confused, couldn't understand anything. So the grandmother said, "Okay, come here, kid. I'll tell you." Okay. The, the big elephants, they get free with their, what do you call the,
Tusks.
not tusks, with their
Trunk.
trunks, they absorb the water from the ocean, and you see all those clouds there, they are all the big elephants. Then they release that, and that's how you get the rain. So the child was happy at that stage. So, like that. So you have to explain in a grass form for a grass intellect, and as the intellect becomes subtler and subtler, as more questions, then all this discussion comes. So that's why even in Karma Yoga, Lord Krishna beautifully says, for a regular dull man, don't try to teach what is Karma Yoga and all that. Okay? Let him continue what he is doing. But you also continue to work, but in the spirit of Karma Yoga, okay? Then he will gradually see the difference. That, hey, he is doing the same work as I am doing, but he is so happy and he is peaceful and everybody loves him and all that. How is it that I have got all these problems? Okay. So like that. So you never change the mind of a dull person, but let him continue until he start asking questions. So, okay. Padmaja is not here, and Rakesh Kumar, going to continue.
Hari Om, Dr. Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Cities that arise in dream or in the imaginations of mind are false, yet they are perceptible during the state of illusion. In the same way, this word is false, yet real due to ignorance. It is Brahman, that absolute, that has assumed the role of Jiva, the individual soul, just as a blazing conflagration may identify itself with a single spark that arises from it. So Brahman identifies himself with the individual soul. The subtle elements that arise out of Brahman do not give up their subtlety when they are modified into gross elements. The grossness seen in the subtle elements is due to the illusions of the human mind. Same thought continuing about this is all illusion, because they say you're looking at the world we think is real, but he say is all because of ignorance. This is what you're looking at it, like you see in the dream. It is all comes out, it's not there. And they say in the real world, what you're looking at it, once you realize it is all Brahman, there's nothing else there. So it's kind of like in the fire, the spark comes out and it becomes an individual soul. But that's part of the whole Brahman. And talking about like to realize it, we have to know that is all illusion. Brahman is only real, and that's all we are. Everything what you're looking around, me, you, everybody's world is all Brahman.
Right. So, yeah. Just like everything boils down to electrons and protons or vibrations, but beyond that, everything is nothing but all the so-called vibrations, gross vibrations or subtle vibrations arise from that Brahman alone. That those vibrations are the creative urge in that Brahman. Okay. Ratnama, you want to read, Amma?
Okay. Just as one might become a wandering traveler in a dream, so the soul has become an incarnating entity in the long dream of the world process. Led by the desire to see, the spirit in man projects the sense of vision. And similarly, led by the desire to hear, touch, taste, and smell, the spirit projects the appropriate senses. The body consisting of mind and senses is very subtle. However, by intensifying mental illusion, this subtle body is interpreted as the gross body. Now confined to the gross body, the soul finds itself caught in a world of time and space. But just as a dream exists within the being of a person, so the world exists within the being of this self.
Yeah.
This world is nothing but pure consciousness. All this is Brahman, who is peaceful, supportless, non-dual, and void of all multiplicity. It is Brahman who expands within himself in the form of the universe, just as a whirlpool arises in water. So the world arises in Brahman and exists as Brahman. So here, yes, everything is Brahman. That's what here State Vashishta is telling. And Brahman is all peaceful, supportless, and he's non-dual and void of all multiplicity. He doesn't have any multiplicity, but it is only Brahman. Whatever you see, you hear and do this, but everything is Brahman. And
You want to go ahead and finish the last paragraph, Amma?
okay, a person might see his own death during a dream, but on waking, he realizes the falsity of that dream vision. In the same way, the death of the body, as well as the destruction of the world at the time of Pralaya, the great deluge, are realized as false from the point of view of intuitive vision. When Brahman alone is, how can there be the creation of or destruction of the world?
Yeah.
So he's telling everything is Brahman. Brahman alone exists as Brahman. And even if you see your own death during a dream, but waking you realize that it was just a dream. So it's the same way when a person dies after waking up in real life. I don't know what is real. Nothing is real here. everything is illusion and illusory part of the Brahman. So,
so like if you are trying to climb a mountain, if the view that you have of the horizon and all that at the top, bottom of the mountain is different from as you reach the higher and higher and the top of the mountain. The same way, as you grow spiritually higher and higher, as the mind becomes subtler and subtler, then you realize, hey, everything's nothing but that pure Brahman alone. Then Brahman alone is, how can there be a creation or destruction of the world? So all everything is nothing but appearances in Brahman alone. So
That the one line range is that the body consists of mind and senses very subtle. However, the intensifying mental illusion, the subtle body interpreted as gross body. Right? That
right,
is a good
right.
definition.
Yeah. So that's why when you are studying that Paramsa Yoganandaji's Bhagavad Gita, he talks it like that. The whole so-called body is nothing but a condensation of all this, what he calls as life trance. So, which is nothing but vibrations. So, very good. And Sarveshji, you want to continue, sir, with the next chapter? 14.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Section 14, it is Brahman that manifests as the universe. Sri Vashishta continued, O Rama, I have been explaining to you that this world consisting of one's ego and its ramifications does not exist because it did not arise from Brahman. Just as ripples and water waves are nothing but the ocean. So the world is nothing but the absolute self. Mountains might be seen in a dream, but on waking, they melt into nothingness. Much in the same way, the mountainous realities of human life are non-existent when a person wakes up to the intuitive vision of the self. Brahma created this universe without a karmic continuity from the last cycle of creation. All Brahmas, creators, are said to attain liberation at the time of universal dissolution, Mahapralaya, and at the commencement of creation, a new Brahma projects this world process, even as a magician projects illusions.
Yeah.
Brahman is essentially the cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha, that manifests as a wave in
Supposed to discuss.
Okay, okay. Here Vashishta is continuing to say to Rama that the world is a manifestation of Brahman. Just as the ripples and waves appear in the ocean, it's nothing. All the waves and the ripples are nothing but the ocean water itself.
Yes.
Similarly, the mountains might be seen in the dream, but on waking, they all melt away.
Right.
So the same thing in mountainous realities of, I like that word, mountainous realities of human life are also non-existent.
Right.
Because when person wakes up to the intuitive vision, that is self-realization, everything is unreal.
So as long as you want to remain in this multifarious world, there is no end. You might want to go from, if you have a desire to see this world, you want to see another world in another planet, or you want to see another world in another galaxy. Okay, there's no limit in this universe itself. And if you go beyond this universe, okay, the innumerable Brahmajis creating innumerable worlds at different vibrations, at different levels of awareness. And there's no limit for it. So that's what you are going to see in this Yoga Vashishta as you go, continue and complete, come to near the end, that you will say that to this one Brahmaji sees there are so many Brahmajis. He is not the only creator. Okay, that he is just a creator of only one part of only one universe. Yes, like that, and so there is no limit to this multiplicity of this creation, as long as you want to remain in this multiplicity. And along after you get tired of enjoying, then you say, hey, what is the cause of all this? Then you absorb back into that state of Brahman, that is the real pralaya of Gnanodayam.
After reading this, does that mean that all these Brahmajis are different waves of the same ocean called Brahman?
Right. Correct. Yeah. If you want to look at each wave as a different creation, and there is one Brahma for each of the creation. Right. Very good. And Shobhanamma, you want to continue?
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Brahma is essentially the cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha, that manifests as a wave in the absolute self. The Hiranyagarbha assumes the form of the Virat, the cosmic being that identifies itself with the physical universe. In fact, Brahman alone exists through these illusory modifications. Sri Rama asked, O sage, is there only one individual soul, or are there many souls? Or are there many souls joined together, composing the body of the cosmic being? Sage Vashishta explained, O Rama, there is neither one individual soul nor many souls. Brahman is the transcendental, non-dual, eternal reality. Just as raindrops proceed from a cloud, or sprays of water from the dashing waves of the ocean, so the illusory souls proceed from the Absolute. In fact, they do not exist separated from the Absolute.
Yeah.
So the earlier one we already discussed about how Brahman is the Hiranyagarbha, and the wave example that was given. So here the Rama asks, is there only one individual soul, Jiva, or are there many souls? And for this, Sage Vashishta explains that there is neither one individual soul nor many souls, and Brahman is the only reality, non-dual reality. And the example of the raindrops proceeding from a cloud or sprays of water from the dashing waves is a good example of how from a dashing wave you can have multiple sprays of water. Similarly, from this absolute there are multiple souls coming out.
Correct. So just like so many bubbles and sprays and froth, all of them are nothing but that ocean alone. Same way, all these names and forms are there in this universe. Everything is nothing but that Brahman alone. Very good. And Sudhirji, want to continue, sir?
Brahman appears as the soul as well as the universe. The reality behind every soul is the reality behind the universe. When illusions are removed, a person discovers his inner identity with all that is and realizes Brahman as the only reality. All this is nothing but Brahman, who is pure, all pervading, taintless mass of consciousness. When Brahman becomes involved in desires for objects, he becomes a jiva, individual soul. But when the jiva abandons desire, it becomes Brahman. This world is the miraculous manifestation of the self.
Yeah.
mind, intellect, ego, the five elements, the mountains, the directions, and all that is this universe is nothing but the self.
Yeah. Comment?
It is just saying that the reality, everything, as I think Shamanadi earlier mentioned, all the whatever is there in this world is actually nothing but whatever we see in this world is nothing but waves in the ocean, and that the reality is that is only Brahman is exist.
Yeah.
And once we remove this illusion with the knowledge, a person will discover himself that he is nothing but he is or she is actually nothing but Brahman, the real nature of himself.
Right.
And then it actually one additional information is actually say that about that Brahman becomes involved in desires of this world becomes it is called Jiva. But when we what is that called abandons the desire, then he become Brahman. I think the earlier in the first paragraph mentioning that the world consists of one's ego. I think because of that ego only, I think we actually feel that we are different and something, all these illusions. So once we abandon those things, we will become Brahman.
Right.
And whatever is our even all our intellect, ego, all the five elements, all are actually nothing but Brahman. So only Brahman exists.
Brahman alone is. And that aham asmi, that aham asmi. Yeah, so I like that paragraph. When Brahman becomes involved in desires for objects, he becomes the Jiva. But when the Jiva abandons desire, he becomes Brahman. Actually, there's no question of becoming, it's a question of the illusion. With no illusion, is pure Brahman. With the illusion, there's a difference between Jiva and the Jagat. So,
So
very
that
good.
Jyoti
always
Manji makes it very, yeah, he makes it sound very easy by just saying that, but when Jiva abandons desire, he becomes Brahman. It sounds very easy, but we all know how hard it is.
Right. They just like when you sit in meditation, oh, you should become thoughtless. It's easier said than done. And some people, yes, probably they can, and they say, oh, it is so easy. You can't do that. So like that.
yeah, I give you one question on this. See, I think I understood this particular part. Then see, Brahman actually getting involved says, and then the question is why? Why he gets involved? Because he knows that these are all Maya, right? So all these things, actually, all those things, and he becomes this and that, all the five elements, all that he actually thought about it. See, and individually, right? When we try to think something, it is for some purpose, right? And so we actually manifest it. So Brahman's, at will it happened. For what? Okay, so why we has to do it? That is also a question I couldn't really contemplate on it. So
Yeah. So if you instead of thinking of anything else, you think about yourself. So that's why in Upadesha Sara, Ramana Maharshi beautifully says, Manasam tu kim margane krute, naiva manasam marga arjava. Where is this mind? Where is this mind? Says, ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvataha aipatatyaham nija visharanam. Where is the aham coming, and it disappears. That is nija visharanam. अहमिनाशबा जयमहंतया स्फुरति हृत्स्वयं Paramapunasa. So when that aham or ahankara or the ego gets absorbed, only thing that remains is that pure Paramapunasa alone remains as aham. That alone the word. So Uma Shankar is not here. Is Veena ji here today? Veena ji is not here. Vijay ji, you want to continue, sir?
Pure consciousness creates the illusion of the ego. The ego in turn becomes intensified into the form of the mind, the senses, and the various elements which constitute the world. But just as the ripple and waves are one with the ocean, or breeze and storms are one with the air, so the world is one with the absolute. Moonlight is a supportive expression of the fullness of the moon. Therefore, it is not different from the moon. It is the same way. This world is like light emanating from the moon of Brahman. It is not different from Brahman. There are apparent differences between ego and prana. Ego abounds more with awareness, while prana is characterized by activity. However, both different vibration of the same pure consciousness.
Comment?
Yeah, here they're talking about the same example of the Jiva and Brahman are one and the same kind of a thing. If it is can be a moon and a moonlight is one and the same, and there's a wave and ocean, water and ocean and a wave is one and the same, and the breeze and storms are one and the same as an air. So world, that means Jiva, which within the world is one with the absolute.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm seeing here.
Yeah. The same
And
way.
they talked about difference between ego and prana a little bit here. Ego bounds are abounds more of ego is with the awareness and prana is with the activity.
Right. Correct. So that's the thing we have to remember, that if you go back to Tattva Bodha, the mind comes from the sattvic aspect of the Maya, and the prana comes from the rajasic aspect of the Maya. But both comes from Maya alone. One is of the nature of awareness, the other one is of the nature of the activity or prana. So that's why in Upadesha Ramana Maharshi beautifully says, Chittavayava Chikriyayutaha Shakayordvaye Shakti Mulaka. That Shakti is the Maya Shakti from which arise these two, Chitta and Vayu. That Chitta is the mind, Vayu is the prana. So that's why both are interconnected. So that's why when we do the pranayama, your mind becomes quieter. That's why in the Hatha Yoga, all that, they use the pranayama quite a bit to control the mind. And as the mind becomes quieter, then you continue to meditate and destroy the mind also. Pranabandhanat liyate mana ekachintanat nashametyadaha. So once after the pranayama, you go into state of meditation and into single thought and absorb yourself. So very good. And there is Swami Shiva Swaminathan. I'm seeing you for the first time here. Hari Om.
Hi, Omji. I was here before on Tuesdays, and then we moved to Thursdays, so I
Okay.
was not able to join you.
Okay. So do you have the book you want to read, sir?
Yeah, I have it.
Go ahead.
So, consciousness involved in prana assumes the role of a jiva, individual's soul. This involvement is illusory and is sustained by ignorance. The same consciousness manifests as the universe. Therefore, every jiva is the same as the universe. When intuitional knowledge of the absolute arises, one discovers oneself as Brahman. He realizes, I am the self that cannot be pierced, that cannot be dried up, and cannot be consumed by fire. I am all-pervading, immutable Atman. While the ignorant abide in illusion, and continue to create illusion in others' mind with their endless talks and discussions, the enlightened sages have no need to waste their vocal energy. They are aware of the truth, even as a man with eyes is aware of the existence of the blazing sun.
Yeah. Want to comment?
So, the jiva is formed because of a consciousness that is involved in prana. This is illusion and sustained by ignorance. So, so this actually creates manifests as the universe. So every jiva is similar to the universe. But the realized soul says that one who discovers the Brahman says that I am the self that cannot be pierced or dried up or consumed by fire. Like same Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita,
Right.
cannot be pierced or all
It cannot
pervading,
be cut,
immutable.
it cannot be wet, it cannot be burnt.
Yes.
It cannot be dried up. Yeah. So
But lot and lots of people who are ignorant, they are always into endless talks and chatter, continue into the illusory nature of the mind.
right,
They become attached to the samsara.
right,
Whereas those who know the truth are need not even waste their vocal energy because they are like people with eyes is aware of the existing blazing sun.
right. So just like that, yeah, just like I'm aware of the objects, but with that intuitional eye is completely aware of that Brahman, Ahamasmi. That intuitional eye we need to open, which is right now is closed. Vishwanathan, you want to continue and finish this chapter?
Same, Prabhuji. From the point of view of the intuitive vision, this world is nothing but Brahman. Devoid of Brahman, this world has no existence at all. This world is a wave in the ocean of consciousness, a golden bangle of which gold is the only reality, a flame of which the fire is only truth, a sugar candy of which sugar is the only essence, or the coolness of ice. This is nothing but ice. As the sage continues his teaching, the day declined. It was the time of sunset. Therefore, directed by sage Vashishta, the assembly of sages, saints, and seekers of spiritual wisdom retired to their homes for performance of their daily duties. When the night elapsed and the sun shone again in the eastern horizon, they reassembled in the royal court of King Dasharatha, desirously
Desirous.
desirous of listening to more of the nectarine teaching of sage Vashishta.
Yeah.
I think it ends. The chapter ends with the metaphors of everything. Tattvamasi, the Mahavakya of Tattvamasi. Everything. Everything exists from that Brahman.
So the Brahman
Everything
with
is
names
nothing but
and
that Brahman.
forms. Yeah. Brahman with the names and forms are the jivas, and the world without names and forms is Brahman alone.
It's Brahman.
So just like he gives the example of the gold, I always enjoy that Tejamananda Swamiji's joke about this man had given a beautiful golden the necklace to his wife, and his business was going bad, and then somehow he wanted that gold necklace to sell it to continue the business, and so he came to the wife and he told her, why don't you keep the necklace, give me the gold. And so, yeah, you can take it, I'll make you necklace, she said. So like that. Yeah, so gold is necklace is gold. So if you remember that I am the gold, I am not just the necklace, which is just a name and form, then we realize. And the same way, every jiva, every object in the world is nothing but that Brahman with name and form. And if we are able to get our mind away from name and forms, we realize oneness, and then the Tripute will disappear. After this, a beautiful story starts, and showing the illusoriness of this whole thing, how the world exists within worlds in different vibrations at the same place. So to show that, Vasisht Rishi is giving the story of Leela. So we still have got another 20 minutes, so we'll start back. Akhila Amma, you want to read, Amma?
Raghuji, this is my best favorite story of Yoga Vashishta. There are so many of them, but this is my favorite.
Yeah, I remember Shobhanaji. Yeah, you always tell this. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like I see that what was her name? Sirisha Mai here, that I missed her. And Sirisha Mai, you want to read the next 3 paragraphs? Are you there? You are muted. She's not there. Okay. Akilama, you want to read?
Hari Om Raghuji. Section 15, the story of Leela commences. Sri Vasishta continued, O Rama, just as a statue exists in a marble rock before it is carved, so this world exists in Brahman. Or just as a wave is nothing but the ocean, so this world is nothing but Brahman, the Absolute. The particles of dust that scintillate in a beam of light coming through a slit in a window into a dark room are indeed subtle compared to the mountains. Much in the same way, the self is subtle compared to the world process. In fact, the self is even subtler than atoms. The objects seen in a dream are not as concrete as the objects of the waking state. In the same way, this world process disappears like the contents of a dream when one enters into a state of intuitional vision of the self. You explained it, Raghuji. You do it so nicely.
Come on, you can do it. You know better than that. You think you know.
I know, Raghuji, but when you explain it is nicer. I enjoy it more. I let you do it.
Thank you. So, just like, he takes the example of the rock, like the same rock, one person might carve out a beautiful Krishna, another person might carve out Rama, another person might carve out Shiva, or a beautiful dancing woman, or multiple little statues. Were they all in the rock? No, they were all illusions, name and form created out of the rock. So that's exactly what he's saying, that the statue exists, a marble rock before it's carved. So the world exists in Brahman. Okay, just like all of them exist, at the same time they do not exist. That is just an illusion. That's what is being said there. So the wave comes and goes, but they are all illusory. They just come and go. The same way, whatever that you want to imagine in the stone, that you can carve out. But stone is nothing but stone. The same way that Brahman alone is, and everything that you can imagine, names and forms, are nothing but that Brahman alone. Same way, only when we wake up, then we realize that the dream is illusory. The same way, the so-called substantial world, the substantial body completely disappears when I wake up to my real absolute nature of Brahman, that intuitional vision of the self. So we'll go to next. Anjaneyulu sir, want to continue?
Sure, Raghuji. Dream disappears, leaving behind a relatively pure consciousness. So too this world disappears in a state of enlightenment, and what is left is absolutely pure consciousness. To illustrate this fact, I will tell you the story of Mandapakyana, the world existing in the corner of a house, also known as the story of Leela. Sri Rama said, "Oh, Venerable Guru, please tell me the story of Leela. I am eager to attain self realization, and with the help of this story, you will give me a deep understanding of the divine self." Shall I stop here, Raghuji? Or?
Read one more.
Sri Vashishta said, "Oh Rama, long ago there lived a king known as Padma. His name meant lotus, and he was veritable lotus, delighting the hearts of his subjects. He was exceedingly righteous and endowed with the excellent qualities." So I recollect, earlier we studied, and I think Shobanaji is very much likes this story.
Right. Yeah.
So we are doing a second iteration now. Yeah.
Right. So very interesting, and I'm sure we'll have forgotten so many aspects of the story. Those who have read before will enjoy it again. And this is the story of the King Padma and his queen, the Leela. And apparently, she must have been a very spiritually advanced lady. And of course, if you take a king and a queen of that quality, they must have done a lot of punya karmas in their past life to be able to be born as king and queen, and at the same time have such a good loving relation together. And naturally, that she was able to even communicate with the goddess Saraswati. So we will see that beautiful story that as it unfolds. So, Ashwin, you want to continue, sir?
Yeah, Hariom. He was a valiant hero in battle. Like the fierce rays of the sun, he used to scatter his enemies. Just as Manasa Lake in the Himalayas is the abode of swans, so too he was an abode of all excellent qualities such as charity, generosity, compassion, and manifold other aspects of goodness. His wife Leela was equally endowed with excellent virtues. Beautiful and charming in her appearance, she was even more beautiful in her inner life. She had wonderful qualities like a beautiful vine in the spring season laden with blooms. Sparkling like the Ganges waters, she sported like the swans that soar in the vastness of the blue sky. A crest jewel among ideal women, she was deeply devoted to her husband. She was joyous in his joys and sorrowful in his miseries. She followed the king like his reflection, but with only one exception. When the king was angry, she did not show anger, but awaited with patience for the waves of agitation in his heart to subside.
Yeah. Want to comment?
It's just describing the different qualities of King Padma as well as Leela. So it's just highlighting their character, like how good they were, how generous they were,
Right.
their pure character. So
Yeah, in the original book, all this is described in very elaborate fashion in about 12, 14 verses. How beautiful she was, how their relation was, how much they enjoyed in various amorous sports, and all that. And as you would say, that she was more probably spiritually advanced than the husband. That's why she would not get angry or agitated even when the husband got angry. And she had that kind of patience to live with that husband. So, Nuligar, you want to continue, sir?
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Section 16. There is a tragic end to the enjoyment of this world. Sri Vasishta continued. King Padma and his beautiful queen Leela pursued the pleasures of the world with profound mutual love. There was not a tinge of artificiality in their loving relationship. They sported in gardens, by lakes adorned with blooming lotuses, in green valleys, and by the banks of rivers. They listened to the stories of villagers, entertained themselves by listening to the devotional stories of the Puranas, ate delicious foods, played amusing games, decked themselves with beautiful ornaments, and spent their youthful days pursuing the varied joys of life. Time passed rapidly. Leela became aware of the fact that one day their youthfulness would come to an end and they would fall prey to old age and death. She wanted to find a method by which she could avert death for her husband and thus secure immortality for him.
Want to comment?
Well, the whole description is how they enjoyed their youthful life,
Right.
but at least Leela realized this is not the only thing. Only when the days goes away, they become old and all the difficulties that come with it.
Right. So we'll continue to read. This is just a story. And Dinesh and Karpagam, you want to continue, Amma?
She's muted.
Queen Leela consulted the Brahmins, who told her about various psychic powers that develop as a result of japa, repetition of mantra, tapa, austerity, yamas, restraints, and niyamas, observations. But that it is impossible to secure immortality on this earth. Hearing this, she became aware of the pathetic end that had to come to their excellent joys. She thought to herself, if I were to die before my husband, I would abide in the south and be free from all the sufferings of life. But if my husband dies before me, at least I will try to secure a residence for his soul here in our own palace. Thus, I would enjoy a perpetual proximity with him. Therefore, let me worship Goddess Saraswati and secure my desire. Having resolved this in her mind, Queen Leela practiced austerity and devotion to secure the favor of Goddess Saraswati, the goddess who is the very embodiment of wisdom. She kept all this secret from her husband.
Yeah. So you can see that the story continues that you can do various kind of austerities, yagas and yagnas and all that, but you can never become immortal. The same thing you see in Puranas, various like Rakshasas do meditation for thousands of years, and then when Brahmaji comes, he says, "Oh, I want to become immortal." So Brahmaji says, "No, anything that is born has to die, so you can never become immortal in this body." So, but she wanted to do something about it, and so she practiced austerity to please Goddess Saraswati. So, so if I die beforehand, then I don't have to worry. But if my husband dies, but I'm so much attached to my husband that I cannot live without my husband. So she wants to see how she can keep the jiva of her husband when he dies within the quarters of her palace. So very good. And Manon Naidu want to continue, Amma?
Where is it?
Page 214.
Okay.
Yeah, he's carrying the book, so I don't know. She practiced various forms of spiritual disciplines, such as fasting, serving her guru and other spiritually enlightened people, bathing in holy waters, giving wealth in charity, and intense meditation. In spite of her spiritual disciplines, she did not neglect even in the least her duties towards her husband. As time passed, Goddess Saraswati, pleased with Leela's austerities, appeared before her in order to shower her grace. Goddess Saraswati asked, "O child, I am immensely pleased with the austerities you performed as an expression of your love for your husband. Please ask any boon that you desire." It's pretty much self-explanatory, Raghuji. The only thing that I didn't, serving her guru, she has a guru and the guru didn't tell her what she is doing is not going to give the result that she is looking for.
I don't know if she had a guru, but she had consultation with
Well,
so many
here it is.
brahmanas and others, and apparently, only if you ask for the knowledge, they will give you the knowledge. Okay, but she was still attached to this world, and she did not know anything beyond this world, uh, except going to the subtle worlds.
I understand that. The only thing is, when I read that serving her guru, I could not understand a person who has a guru and the guru, like you said, maybe she wasn't really looking for knowledge from the guru. I don't know.
Right. So that's the only way I understand it. So okay, and Yadav is not here. Nag, you want to continue, sir?
Queen Leela asked, "O goddess, you are the blazing fire that dispels the darkness of age and death. You are the mother of the universe. I am a suppliant at your lotus feet. Please protect me. Please grant me two boons. First, if my husband dies before me, let his soul stay in this palace. And for my second boon, whenever I pray to behold your divine form, may you appear before me." Goddess Saraswati said, "May it be so," and disappeared like a wave that subsides in the vast ocean. The joys of Queen Leela knew no bounds. Time revolves like a wheel. Months and fortnights form the circumference of the wheel. The seasons are the circle close to the axle. Every moment is the hub of this wheel. The days and nights are the spokes, while the year is the axle on which the wheel revolves. Thus, as this wheel continues revolving, seconds become minutes, minutes hours, and hours turn into days, and days become months. This paved the way for the passage of years until King Batma came close to his physical end.
Finish it up.
Wounded in a battle, King Padma was brought into the palace where he died. Queen Leela was grief stricken. She was like a withering lotus deprived of the life sustaining water of the lake. She breathed in agony like a wounded deer.
Comment?
She should have asked for a boon that we both should die on the same day. Then there won't be any story. There won't be any story.
Yeah, right. Or ask for self knowledge. So
Yeah.
Bhagavan gives what you want. So,
Yeah, well, actually, like Manoj said, there is no guru, so he was not aware of self knowledge or anything, but simply he should have asked, we both should die at the same time.
yeah. That would have been good, so that I want to be with my husband. Wherever he goes as a jiva, I want to be with the same person. So, very good. So, we'll continue and listen to the story in the next class. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम
Hari Om, everybody.
थैंक यू ऑल हरि ओम
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Raghaji, summary for
Hari,
next week. Who is going to
Hari
do
Om
it?
Raghuji.
oh yes so you want to do it
You want me to do it? Okay. I can
okay
do
very
it.
good if you ask then you'll get it
No, I just reminding you.
It's a nice story. You can very easy. Oh,
very good
Right,
so
I can do it.
Swaminathan Hari Om nice seeing you sir
Hari
oh
Om.
I think he's logged off
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari
Hari
Om,
Om.
thank
see you
you.
next
Hari
week
Om.
All.
okay
Thank you, Raghuji.
Hari Om
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om
Hari Om Raghuji. Hari Om everyone.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
oh Dinesh
Hari Om.
Sharma was there he must have logged on later okay I'll say hello to him afterwards. So, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Namaskar, Hari.
Namaskar.